John Johnson, a director, founder of Raw 2 for One. The whole concept behind it is, a lot of wrestling clubs. People are looking for extra ways to train, either in the off season or additional workouts during the season. So, what I created was just a nice little platform for the kids to use to get those extra workouts and to continue to make progress through their wrestling career. Our program's a little different because we do a specific thing as opposed to, a jack of all trades kind of thing. Well, we focus specifically on takedowns. So my practice is designed 99.9% for takedowns. And, an average place, most places are doing 33 and a third. 33 and a third on top, 33 and a third on bottom, 33 and a third on their feet. I'm doing 99.9 on my feet. So completely different. I feel like if you can control your own body, you'll have an easier time controlling your opponent. So whether that's basketball, off the dribble, crossing people over, the better I am controlling my body, the easier it's going to be for me to control yours. And wrestling has always been that way. So the best athletes in our sport are the ones that are able to control their bodies and they can dominate the action. There are a lot of wrestlers that in my early years of development that I was analyzing because I wanted to see what were they successful with, what was making them as good as they were, and I was picking little pieces from those guys. John Smith of the world, who at that time was arguably the top American ever, and it just his style of wrestling, his ability to move in space, dominate on his feet. I mean, just very rarely did you see him get taken down. So for me, I wanted to take advantage of that. The sport is changing, and it's been changing for a while, but it's still some hangers on to, the sport the way it used to exist. And it's changing to where it's being more driven towards the ability to be able to take people down. I think the reason that this sport is the way that it is because the people that control the sport, at least in the United States, they're not going to change. So the people that are in control of how our sport is running here in the U.S., they kind of stay with the old system, and then there's no bend to help it kind of grow the way that it really should grow. I think what's helping wrestling right now is wrestlers going into the MMA world and being champions, becoming champions. Frankie Edgar from New Jersey, for instance, former wrestler, wrestled for Clarion. New Jersey State finalist from Toms River here in New Jersey. He's a world champ right now. A couple of guys, John Jones, you obviously heard of most of these names. These are guys that are stepping out of the wrestling world, stepping into the MMA world, and pretty much proving that the art of wrestling transfers very well. Randy Couture, for many years, he's kind of the man. He's the name. Everyone knows that name. And he was a former wrestler, national runner-up for Oklahoma State. But I think that wrestling will improve through popularity, its popularity through the MMA. By our guys becoming champions, it helps our sport out. The style of wrestling that I feel would best benefit and best suit America moving forward is the style of wrestling that I teach. And as I said, the one and only world champion that we have in the United States currently competing is using that style of wrestling, and I think he's successful because of that style of wrestling. I think the primary reason that he is a world champion is because of that style of wrestling. It's an electrifying style of wrestling. It's an aggressive style of wrestling. It's a pressure style of wrestling. It puts a lot of pressure on your opponent, and it's breaking people, not so much from putting your hands on them, but it's breaking them because you're forcing them to react to you, and you're beating them down as the match goes on. I think that the more we can get the U.S. to buy into a little bit more of this style of wrestling, not everybody can do it, but the concept, if you can follow the concept of being a little bit more aggressive on our feet, I think that will help us a lot in the United States competing with the Iranians, the Cubans, and the Russians. Those are the top three nations, and those guys are exceptional on their feet. I think 74 kilos, I think we win a gold medal. I think Jordan will win the world championships at 74 kilos. He's the top guy right now. Everybody in the world is gunning for him. but he knows that everybody in the world is gunning for him. So I feel like for him, it just is further motivation. And he wants to string along a couple of championships here and trying to catch up to John Smith, the aforementioned John Smith, who won 6 world championships. So I think that that's what he's gunning for, and I think that's where he's leaning towards doing on a year in and year out basis, is to be the number one man. So I don't think that's a problem. Kurt Angle was world champ in '95. Another one of these guys that is a bigger guy, but he wrestles like he's a middleweight. So his ability to move on his feet, outstanding. And I would have liked to see his career last a little longer, to be honest. 95 world champ, 96 Olympic champ, and then he got kind of drawn away from our sport into the WWE/WWF. And I would have liked to see his career last a little bit longer in the wrestling world, real wrestling. I'm very driven. I mean, lots of setbacks. You know, my whole life has been setback here, setback there, setback here, and it's just my ability to continue to get back up and get back on the horse and continue to go, and that's kind of what drives me to motivate kids and educate kids in the sport of wrestling, is that wrestling is pretty much the same thing. It's a sport filled with a lot of setbacks. Not too many people can go undefeated, you know, for an entire career. I mean, you're going to have setback here, setback there, and it's your ability to rebound from that, your mental toughness that allows you to get back up and carry on.